There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. A dimension of sound.
For the 150th time, you are not getting out of here. Please let me finish the Count of Monte Cristo.
A dimension of sight.
No change at all.
What? I think I look fine.
A dimension of mind. Next stop, the Twilight Zone.
What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Fifth Dimension of Twilight Zone podcast. Once again, I am your host, Nick, and we're back for our 7th episode. The fact that we are on our 7th episode is pretty impressive. We've been doing this for almost 2 months. But as always, if you like what you see on this podcast, or if you listen to this podcast, we are on different audio feeds. Find us there. Find us on YouTube. And once again, I am with my host, Triv from Trivial Theater, who is bouncing back and forth like she had too much coffee, maybe a little too much brandy. What's going on, Triv?
I spent too much time in the Death Valley, and now I'm just here.
You drink some of that chocolate milk?
Yeah. Yes.
Oh my god, there was
not a euphemism. That is actually chocolate milk.
Exactly.
Is that what's in my cup?
Sure, maybe it's a robot.
Oh, you got there before I did.
Yeah.
Oh, he hasn't stopped talking about it. Like, we were getting ready to go, and the entire time he's like, every time I say robot, he'd be like, robot.
Robot.
Are you a mechanical frog? What are you?
Witness, if you will, a story about robots.
Oh my god. So that voice you're hearing is, of course, Jacob from Jacob Anders Reviews. He is the guy that will say anything and everything for $1, I believe, but mostly he'll just yell at you. And yeah, exactly. So Jacob, thank you for coming on to the Fifth Dimension podcast. I know you're a big fan of the Twilight Zone. And how are you doing? How's everything going?
I am doing fantastical. How are you guys doing? I've been looking forward to talking about this show with you guys for a while. I haven't watched the Twilight Zone in honestly in years, but I was really excited to get back into the Fifth Dimension on the show and here and talk about it. So I'm really excited to see where this rabbit hole takes us, talking about this little episode.
Now I gotta ask before we go any further, did you say fantastical or fantastical?
Oh, it's always fantastical. Always fantastical.
It's all balls out and stuff.
Oh yeah. I'm trying to be good here. Nick, get her. Because she's pushing my buttons, man. I'm trying to be.
Well, she's the one. If you watch our intro, she's the one that's always howling. I'm trying to finish the goddamn Count of Monte Cristo, and she's like, "Oh, I'm like, shut up! Put you back in your cage."
How do you know that's me? It doesn't sound anything like me.
Oh,
I don't know. Have you seen American Werewolf in London? Things happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna kick you in the balls if you keep talking like that.
Oh man! First, I gotta become animated.
Yeah, it's not gonna take much. I'll boot up your ass faster than you can say. I don't know, robot.
Robot.
Gonna kick you in your robot balls. I don't know why I just turned into Eric Cartman.
Kiss my shiny metal ass.
So Jacob, I gotta ask you, since you're a Twilight Zone fan, and I'll ask this to every guest who comes on, unless you come on again, which I won't care at that point. So you picked this episode, which is a lonely, but do you have a specific episode that you really enjoy out of all of them, or is there this like, because it's nice to see people come on with the episodes that are not time enough at last. So I didn't know if you had like a particular episode.
I do, in fact. It's not in the season though. I'd say my favorite. I do like this episode. I like almost every Twilight Zone episode from what I remember. But as far as favorites go, this one did stick out. But my favorite, from what I remember, that has always stuck out to me is one from season 2, I believe, called "The Invaders." I think is what it's called. About the woman, like frontier woman in the shack that's being attacked by aliens. Well, that's what we think at least.
That's actually come up a lot. That's actually written by Richard Matheson, which is pretty crazy. But
I think it's episode 56. I could be wrong. Yeah, 50 something. It's about mid-season on season 2 after the massive season that is season 1. It's like fucking 36. Beat that out. 36 episodes.
Rod
I,
Serling would approve, I'm sure.
I'm not doing good here. we're only a couple of minutes in.
That's what they got the beat method for. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
But like, what makes you like the Twilight Zone? As a stupid question, because you've asked when I was on your show, you were like, I got some stupid questions for you, and I'm like, okay. What makes you like the Twilight Zone so much? What is it about it that you love?
I mean, all jokes aside, I think the biggest thing about it is like there are all these tales of morality, and just they all have the thing what I always look forward in a good Twilight Zone episode is its ironic twist of fate, and it does what a good short is supposed to do, and it has that perfect little ironic twist of fate there at the end, that even though and what Twilight Zone does so good is because we've become programmed when it comes to shorts, like with anthologies and things of that nature, to be looking for it. And sometimes you can find it, sometimes you can't. But with Twilight Zone, you could rarely guess it. And then all of a sudden it would hit you and you'd be like, oh, there it is. And it's just, they're all just so well written. Like even your worst Twilight Zone episode is better than a lot of other shows and anthologies and things like that. They're just all fantastic. And I think, the older they get, and they're black and white. I think they're all black and white, right? I think so. Yeah. They're black and white. They're older. I think a lot of people know the Twilight Zone, but they haven't necessarily seen the Twilight Zone. And unfortunately, I think with like some of the younger crowd, they probably don't. They're not going to go back and watch that. I'm sure there are some, but some younger people aren't going to go back and watch that. I just hope that we don't like lose the Twilight Zone, if you will, as far as like how people, being a part of our culture and people thinking about it, because it is such a great show that just tells these fantastic stories. And another thing I've noticed, and I ramble as we can see here, but a lot of people look at the Twilight Zone, and when you say Twilight Zone, they like associate it with horror. And while there is some horror episodes in the Twilight Zone, it's a lot less horror and a lot more. It really covers almost all genres, but it's more sci-fi. But at some point in time, I think it like skewed over to, at least the public consciousness started thinking that it was more about horror, and it's really not. There's a lot less horror than there is, like, say, sci-fi. And as I said, it's usually these morality tales that have a ironic twist of fate in them. And I just love that. I've always loved anthologies and short stories and stuff like that. And that's what the Twilight Zone is through and through.
To point out that he said that even the worst Twilight Zone episode
I know where you're
better
going
than
with
the
this.
lowest episode of or the best episodes of other shows. So 16 millimeter Shrine, do you want to rethink that at all, or are you still going to hold your position on that?
Hey, if you remember what I said in that episode, I said that episode is still better than half the garbage that's on TV right now.
Well,
I'm
that's
looking
right
at you,
now.
MTV.
That's not saying much. I mean, if you want to be honest about it, I just, this is a good reminder for people to go back and watch our previous episodes, including 16 millimeter Shrine. Don't listen to Nick. Go check them out.
Listen to the show, but don't listen to one other
Don't
person
listen to
on
me.
it.
Exactly.
I'm irrelevant. I'm the glasses from the Twilight Zone.
You're not the glasses from the Twilight Zone. You're more like Alicia before, the final act.
You're going to get shot in the face by the end.
No, I said before the final act, not in
in
the final act. And thanks for giving the ending away.
Oops, my bad.
I'm Alicia. I'm in love with Jack Warden. This is just how I work.
How can you not be?
Yeah, that dude, Jack Warden is an awesome actor. But so with that said, like I said, like Triv said, go ahead and check out the other episodes. Check us out on Apple and Google and YouTube and all that stuff. But today we're talking about season 1, episode 7, which is of course called The Lonely. This is the episode that aired on November 13th, 1959. Was directed by Jack Smight, which this might be his first episode. I can't remember offhand. Written by Rod Serlings. We're going to talk about like the actual episode, but this is an episode with a lot of trivia. Jacob, I don't know if you read any of the trivia, Jacob, but a lot of people had heat stroke in this production of this episode. The production code for this is 173-3602, which means this was the second episode ever produced after the pitch that was Where Is Everybody? Jacob, you read about like what all happened? Like they filmed in Death Valley.
This is actually the first one they filmed in Death Valley, I think,
Yeah.
is what it
Yep.
said, and like many more would. This is also the first one, which I'm probably stealing what you were about to say, but this is also the first one, the first episode filmed after the show got picked up by CBS, I
Yep,
guess it is, like
CBS.
officially picked up like as an actual show. So
Yeah, they that's why the production code is pretty cool. Like if you ever go to any TV show, you can actually tell when they film what episode was filmed when, just by it said 173 is, I don't remember how the code works, but 3602 is the second episode filmed after Where's Everybody. But as you said, first filmed in Death Valley. This is where you have to take care of yourself, drink lots of water, but they weren't doing that. They were eating a lot of heavy ass food. One person decided he was going to drink chocolate milk. Director of photography collapsed of heat stroke after falling off a camera crane.
yeah, they kept filming.
Yeah.
Milk was a bad choice.
Yeah, milk would be a bad idea. But the part about that, I gotta stop you, because the part about that I love the most is he fell off a freaking crane from heat stroke from the chocolate milk. And they kept filming. What I read is that they were like, he'll be all right. Walk it off. Get up, Harry.
It was the 50s. It was actually shot. What's great is, given the nature of this, they actually shot it in Desolate Valley. Like it was Death Valley, but within the canyon or a thing called Desolate Valley.
Holy shit. When you're the desolate part of Death Valley.
Yes.
Yeah, I just see this guy like in the 50s, and they're sitting there, and he falls off a crane and he lands, and they just look over and they're like, film costs money. It's like, keep on rolling. He's okay. Have a cup of coffee and a cigarette, Harry. Go sit it out.
Grab a dry martini, damn it.
Walk it off. You got 5. This is a union job. You got to keep working.
Oh my god.
One other kind of fun thing about this is, so Rod Serling did like a pitch to kind of find advertisers and stuff that would support the show. And so they did this one, they did Denton, Mr. Denton on Death Day. No, Mr. Denton, what was it, Nick? It was Mr. Denton
On Doomsday.
On Doomsday, thank you. And then
Welcome.
Where's Everybody? I forgive you for not liking 16mm Shrine. Anyway, but in the pitch, he's describing like this episode, and the way he describes like the companionship between Corey and Alicia, the robot, is really interesting, because they say basically, so he was gifted this robot. It was made out of plastic and wires with a machine for a heart. It should provide a most bizarre experience. As for the physiological extensions of their relationship, which is male and then female machine, and what they do in their spare time, well, we're leaving that wide open. And you can just see him like winking at the camera going, hey, yeah, they might could be doing anything. Yeah,
they're banging.
Yeah.
That's the first thing we all thought. We were like, what happens next? What happened in that 11 months, buddy? We know exactly what happened. Is she anatomically correct?
God, you came onto the right episode, man. I tell you.
And we haven't even got to the really great episodes yet. Oh man. So what was the other thing? I forgot the other thing I was going to talk about.
We're coming back to this, by the way.
I hope so. It did take place.
Questions.
So,
which attachment did you come with? Extra attachments?
Ooh, I got more questions now.
That's the after dark portion. You gotta give me some time to figure that one out.
So I haven't.
My brain's not that.
Oh my god!
I can go real raw on After Dark. I got even more questions, and I got some answers now too.
They were using some of that oil that they used to make the sweat appear as lube for the After Dark portions.
Oily lube.
Stay tuned for that. So
I should have just showed the outside of that shack one time, and all you hear is. I mean, just one good time. That's what I'm saying. It could have been in the background, and like it would have passed the 50 sensors at that point.
They weren't allowing people to sleep in separate beds. I don't think they're allowing any kind of noises. If the shack comes a rocking, they're coming and knocking.
I mean, I did only watch the episode once this time around, and I wasn't paying attention, but you make a good point. I don't recall seeing a bed in that shack.
No.
I mean, I guess we didn't see every single inch of it, but it's a shack. There's not a lot of space there, so
Well,
I
we
don't
didn't
recall
see every
seeing a
inch of
bed.
him either, so
She did.
Yeah, that she did.
Oh yeah, she did.
Oh, chicken pop down.
So
Anyway,
Back on track.
Yeah, so the episode stars Jack Warden as Corey, John Dehner as Allenby, Gene Marsh as Alicia, Ted Knight, who of course you remember from what the hell is that movie? Caddyshack. He played the head of the evil a-hole from Caddyshack.
Yeah.
He plays
Squirrel?
Adams, and
Yeah, he was quite a villain.
yeah. And James Turley as Carstairs. Yeah. Without further ado, we're gonna go ahead and get straight into the actual story. I would usually read the opening narration, but Jacob had like one demand. He said, I refuse to come on unless I read the opening and closing narration. He says, I will hijack the podcast and I will murder the rest of you. And I said, you know what? Give me a cheeseburger and we're set to go. And I'm still waiting on that cheeseburger, but you're more than welcome to read the opening narration. So
I ate the cheeseburger. I had some fruit snacks.
Son of a bitch.
Hey, fruit snacks are awesome. You can make a cheeseburger out of fruit snacks.
I have some fruit snacks and gushers. I can give you those.
Ooh, can I get some of those gushers?
She's baiting me, Nick. I'm telling you, she's baiting.
I know.
Yeah, I bait everybody. It's half of my fun.
Okay, let me do this narration. Yeah, but I've been like I was explaining to you guys, since you guys because of this episode I had to get back into Twilight. Not had to, I would gladly get back into Twilight Zone, and I really do like Twilight Zone. So getting into it, I've been walking around my house since yesterday when I watched this episode, talking like Rod Serling, at least what I think is what Rod Serling sounds like. Now I will spare you the Rod Serling face that I do. Because it's something, it's kind of ugly. I looked in the mirror, I was like, oh, in my head I looked like Rod Serling. Not so much. It's kind of like this kind of thing or something like that. I don't know, but it's really bad. Like it looks kind of like I had a stroke. But anywho, let's move on with this thing. Let's see how my Rod Serling voice is. It's not good, but here we go. Witness, if you will, a dungeon made out of mountains, salt flats, and sand, not sound, that stretch to infinity. The dungeon has an inmate. If I could
Not
read right.
enema.
That's what I was about to say, is enema. Anyway, the dungeon has an inmate, James A. Corey, and this is his residence, a metal shack, an old touring car that squats in the sun and goes nowhere. For there is nowhere to go. For the record, let it be known that James A. Corey is a convicted criminal, placed in solitary confinement. Confinement in this case stretches as far as the eye can see, because this particular dungeon is on an asteroid 9 million miles from Earth. Now witness, if you will, a man's mind and body shriveling in the sun, a man dying of loneliness and robots.
That is one hell of a paragraph. I'm telling you what, man.
Yeah, I got this really bright light in my eye too that's like a little closer than usual in this new space, and my eyes keep watering. I'm going to say that's why I kept stumbling over my words.
Is that why you
Anyway.
almost said enema?
And enema. No, I'm just drawn to that. Just drawn to that.
It's okay.
So this dialogue is extremely long. I remember I was watching the episode today and I'm like, wow, this is almost as long as No Time to Die. I'm like, holy cow. And so this is a pretty straightforward opening narration. It talks about a guy named James A. Corey. He did something. He's on a planet 9 million miles from Earth. Apparently, it only takes 3 months to get to. Apparently, they can still see their Orion belt for some reason. But after seeing this dialogue, after seeing the first signs of the character, what was your overall take? Did this get you excited for the episode? Did this make you think that this was something that would intrigue you? How did you guys feel about it?
I remembered this episode going differently than it went. Now, like I said earlier, it's probably been 20 years since at least since I last saw this episode, at least 15 years. It's been a long time, but I remember, like, as I was watching the episode and we saw the crawl there, I was like, okay, yeah, I remember this is my jam. I like these kind of episodes. But where it ends up going, which I guess we'll get to, I just remember it taking a different turn, and I got thoughts about that. But yeah, going into it, I was kind of like, yeah, okay, cool. I like these types of episodes, so I was excited, I suppose.
Well, first I was trying to figure out how far 9 million miles it was, and that's basically from the Earth to the Sun, essentially. I think it's like 9.3 million miles. So
There's probably meaning there.
yeah, probably. I'm sure so. Or something. But so yeah, from that perspective, it was like, wow, that's crazy. And to fund that would be like, my brain went down that road of like, wow, funding and one solitary person on a 6 million or 6,000 mile rock. Wow, these guys must have done some pretty crappy stuff to be popped all the way out in the middle of nowhere.
So they even gave him his a starter kit for a car that he apparently spent a year building.
Yeah, exactly. For his having them out in the middle of nowhere, they actually do stuff. But there was like no garden, there was no obviously you couldn't in that heat, but there was, my brain went to all the logistics, and it's like it was hard to keep on track for what the episode was. But that's just my brain being weird. So
yeah, that was a question I had, because he actually does talk about how he's there for murder, but he said it was in, self-defense and all that. But who did he supposedly murder?
yeah,
Where they put him 9 million miles away, or however far away it was, on an asteroid all by himself? That, like you said,
Yeah.
do you know how much it costs to launch a rocket? I mean, I know this is supposed to be 2046, I think,
yeah.
but Jesus, that seems like a bit overkill to me.
It's not like a trip to the grocery store.
No.
I mean, hell, we're in 2021 and we still can't figure out how to invent toilets that flush and reuse water source. This is
Hell, they can't even get the auto flush toilets to auto flush properly every time.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I just want mine to be a portable iTunes player, personally.
Well, every time you poop, it just makes like sweet music and stuff.
Exactly.
they have that. They have that for kids.
Do they? Oh,
Do they?
God.
When they use the bath. I have had one of those. Not for myself. I almost tried it myself, but it works. When they use the bathroom, it plays a little song.
Gents, if you'll excuse me, I will. I'll be right back. Excuse me. And go find one of those toilets.
Oh,
Oh, I thought you were like leaving us. I thought you were just. She's like, I found the new product I can sell for $1 million. Oh, man. No, but what's great about this episode, what I really love, is how they envision the future, and then we're in that future or close to it. It's like you go back and watch, Blade Runner or something like that, and it's like we're not at the point where we're building robots to have sex with us, stuff like that.
Well,
But
if you go to
we're almost
Japan,
well, that's true. They build Gundams and stuff like that over there. But anyway, so Corey, convicted of murder, probably was the one-armed man or some shit, and he's sentenced to 50 years of solitary. But he's sentenced to 50 years of solitary confinement on a distant asteroid. So if he's on an asteroid, and hopefully it doesn't contain like sandworms or something like that, how is this so hot on this asteroid? Like, is he literally like roping around the sun?
well,
Like,
like
there's
Trip
no way
said, he's almost at the sun.
yeah.
Is it?
I guess. Didn't you say that's like the distance?
Well,
almost
it's like
to the sun?
it's a distance from the moon, or sorry, from the Earth to the sun is like 9.3. So it could be in any other direction, though. It may not be.
I'm pretty sure if we get much closer to the sun, though, we just will kind of, burn up.
Well,
Because
it's
if
like
it's this hot
Mercury.
here,
Yeah, look at Mercury. I mean, that
Yeah.
right there, it burns on one side and freezes on the other.
I don't think they
Yeah, I
put that much
guess.
thought into it when they
No, they didn't.
put the
But
episode.
it was pre space race, so it was more not magical, but it was that era, like that classic era of space oriented sci-fi.
Yeah.
I mean, look at their costumes;
But-
they're amazing.
Yeah, it's like tracksuits. It's like
Yeah. And football
Nike
helmets.
tracksuits. Yeah, and when that wind picks up, I think that one guy looks like he's wearing hammer pants. He's just going to take off.
I was
thought it
gonna
was
say
great.
the helmets reminded me of the farting guy from Freaked.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know what guy you're talking about. That hat he wore. Yeah, it did. Those were the same helmets.
They were. I got these random football helmets left over from the last period drama we did. You guys want to use them to go into outer space?
Yeah, sounds legit. That's all we need. Let's jump into
Yeah.
a rocket with some OG football helmets on. And go, well, I don't know how back then. I don't know if they would have been that old. I think a better question. Yeah, the heat is actually a real good question. That didn't occur to me, but I think seeing as though they're on an asteroid somewhere out in space, how is it like? It's apparently this asteroid is on an axis to where it has a day-night cycle. I guess, is it ever night there?
I don't think it ever was
it
night.
is.
Well, yeah, you're right.
No, it is. Yeah.
Okay, well, it's on a day-night cycle. There's gravity, and they can breathe. So this is a hell of an asteroid.
Yes, it is.
No. And clearly, I haven't seen Armageddon, so we clearly
That's
don't
what I
know
kept
about.
thinking of.
Oh god!
Just waiting for Bruce Willis and his crew to like show up to friggin' Aerosmith.
I was also gonna say, you're talking about spacesuits. You want to like, this was goofy, but you get like a lot of like major motion pictures, at least like the B movies, which honestly the budgets probably weren't crazy big. But my God, these look legit compared to a lot of those B movies. So not that it's perspective, but it's a little bit of perspective.
And it's ironic because it's the second episode ever filmed too, which makes it even funnier.
Agreed.
So this guy, Corey, played by Jack Warden, pretty much confined to death on an asteroid that apparently has gravity. And on the 15th day of the 6th month of the 4-year of incarceration, he's visited by a spacecraft flown by Captain Allenby, who's played by John Dehner. And he has like 2 of the most angry crewmen I've ever seen in my entire life.
These guys are straight
hate
assholes.
everybody.
But he's like, we've been traveling 8 months out of the year to bring you food and stuff like that. And he just like, I'm like, 8 months. So it takes them 2 months to get there, but they're only 8 months out of the year. I was really confused by the logistics of like time and space in this episode.
I'm assuming a month coming and a month going.
Wow,
Like it
That's
takes
a-
him.
That's a fast spaceship though. It's like, you gotta be super like
Well, it is
And then on top of it-
2046.
Yeah, exactly.
well, that's true.
1 year later, you got Blade Runner.
Yeah.
2047.
You just need some boob casinos, like with the the desert sand.
Well, you give him some time on that casino or on that planet, and he can clearly build his own boob casino.
Exactly.
I need about 100 Alicias. Can you send them my way?
He can make his own.
Sure.
Just,
I mean,
just
does
give me
everything work?
Diarmas.
Yeah. Just make them out of rocks.
Yeah, there you go. But anyways, this guy is really lonely. He's built a car. He has checkers made out of bolts and nuts and stuff like that. And Albie and his crew approach him, give it his food. They have apparently like 15 minutes because apparently this asteroid is on a collision course for another asteroid or some crap. I don't know.
Their orbit trajectory would have been off and they would have been lost in space forever. But the way that he says it makes him sound like, you know what, guys, this guy's a real loser. We just need to get the hell out of here. Just give him some excuse about an orbit or something.
I gotta say, let me step back real quick to the guys you're talking about, the asshole crewmen who are there to unload the stuff for them. They're like major douchebags for no reason. So I mean, yeah, I believe they probably could work in like the Department of Corrections in the future. But that aside, they're complaining about this long cycle about how long it takes them to get there and back, and my kids don't even recognize me and all this and that, which if you're only gone for a month, I think, or 8 months, your kids don't recognize you. What the hell? But anyway, they're complaining about this, and I'm like, did somebody make you do this? Like, are you a convict that's being made to do this? Did you not know that when you signed on for the job? I mean, did they not tell you, oh, there's some light travel involved and you're gone for like a year?
Actual light speed travel, not light travel.
I feel like this is one of those situations where I hear people bitch and moan about their jobs, and I'm like, did you not know that when you signed on?
See, the funny part is
job.
I complain about my job all the time about a certain mega corporation, and they're like, "Why are you complaining? It's like the second time you've worked for them." I'm like,
that's these guys. I feel like these guys are, and that's why the captain looks so depressed whenever these guys talk, because I feel like these two guys are bitching and moaning the whole 8 months they're on this trip, and he's just like,
sure.
yeah.
Just shut up. And they're up there the whole time like, man, I don't get paid enough. They need to pay us more. We need to form a union. I ain't even supposed to be here today. And he's just like, oh my God, I'm going to leave you on one of these rocks. Better be happy we need you for navigation, Johnson.
Well, it's funny because you think about like the logistics thing and like what you're saying, and then Allenby's like, you know what? I feel sorry for you, Corey. You're whatever. What is it called? His pardon or whatever is not up. So I'm just going to give you this random crate. It's vacuum packed. So, like the typical robot is. And they leave. And then before they leave, one of them goes, "Hey, what was in that big box?" "I don't know. Could be nothing. Could be everything. It's only for the lonely."
Yeah, I don't
And,
feel like the conversation ended there.
Yeah.
Not with these guys. I feel like they got on the ship. He's like, "What the hell does that mean?" I don't feel like these guys would have just accepted that answer.
Like Captain quit being so damn poetic and give it to me straight.
Yeah, that's great, but what was in the box?
What was in the box?
Hopes and dreams. What's in the box?
We've been traveling for 8 months. What's in the box? And he tells them, "Oh, that was a robot woman." God damn it! Leave me on the asteroid.
We just left him an e-girl, and they're like,
"Oh,
we go back."
God.
It's a VTuber, man. It's a VTuber.
Exactly.
Normal settings she'd be quite average looking, but according to internet fans, she's the best looking woman ever. So take your pick.
According to asteroid times, the best woman ever.
According to Universal Playboy.
She's the hottest woman on the planet.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The only woman on the planet.
There you go.
So this guy lives on a rock, hot as hell, and has, I'm assuming, no ACs, and he lives in a shack that's made out of metal or whatever.
Oh,
yeah, not a good choice.
No.
Yeah, no.
Milk was a bad choice.
Oh man. But he opens up the crate, which didn't look very vacuum packed, I'll be honest. And we see Gene Marsh, Alicia, standing there, and I swear, like, the men are really angry at people in this episode because he's like super angry at her. He
calls her a mocking reminder of loneliness.
Yeah, it's just like it feels like he's being mocked by her because she's a robot.
I got thoughts on this too.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'll just let you guys go into it. It's like, so we have this woman or this robot, and this is the only companion he's gonna have for possibly 45, 49 years or whatever. He's like super angry about it. I'm like, dude, she has all the human parts. She is lifelike. I'm pretty sure most men on a planet like an asteroid are not going to complain about it being a robot, So go ahead, Jacob. I'm going to let you, Jacob, you guys go ahead and your thoughts on this.
Go ahead, Jacob.
Okay, so all right, let's put it out there, ladies and jelly spoons. This is what's
he's
going
gonna
on
put it
here.
out there.
Because that's what our character's going to do. That's what I'm getting at. As Nick said, just get into it. That is what happened. All right. That is the part of the episode that was wildly inaccurate, wildly unbelievable. Because yes, if there were other people there, he could be like, "You're playing with my emotions and all things." Okay. This guy's been on this, he's been on this rock in this shack alone, no contact, female or otherwise, for 2 years. And a woman, well, robot or not, a lifelike, assuming anatomically correct, more kind of at first at least subservient woman shows up. He is not upset, and he is not talking about his feelings. There's one thing they're talking about. You don't use words much. He's getting in that. They're gonna that I know it was the 50s and they couldn't go into it much, but he's not upset. He's not mad. He is happy as hell. There's something at least talking to him, and there's something he can get it on with, because I don't care what anybody says. It's a man, it's a woman. I believe Triv mentioned something earlier about the marketing where Rod Serling even alluded to that. Yes, this guy is just happy as hell. I'm gonna plow the shit out of that robot. I'm gonna smash that robot butt. He's killing it. Okay, now after that, maybe he's got like some pre-nut record, like he's got a lot on his mind after that, and he's like, and he thinks about it, and he's like, that's when he thinks about his feelings. And he's like, I do feel like you're mocking me just by being here. Don't leave. I'm happy that you're here, because there's no way in hell that this guy has been alone for 2 years, and he's got 47 years left all alone. He doesn't give a crap that it's a robot or not. It's human enough. So, I mean, I get where the episode was going with the whole, like, trying, in all honesty, in like all seriousness, about like him doing the whole my feelings, my emotions, and it's driving me crazy. Yeah, that's where it should have gone. But I mean. But realistically, what I'm saying is that's what would have happened. He would have just killed that. He probably would have broke that robot in half.
They would come back 3 months later.
You got another
What
one?
did you do to her?
Did you bring some
It's
more
like-
parts? I need to repair
She
She's like,
parts.
I don't even
come
need
with
food
special.
anymore.
they, would, they would have been
Oh,
like,
God.
"You are a murderer. Look what you did to this." No, it wasn't like that. That just
Fell apart. There was a loose bolt.
Built
a
up.
loose nut.
yeah. Those are loose. A nut loose.
I'm sorry, that wasn't one-armed man. That was one-eyed Willie. I don't know where he went. Oh man,
But yeah,
Oh my God.
I get where
But
they were
it-
going with it, but and that was poignant, I suppose. I get what they're trying to say, but all I could think the whole time was, like you said, why the hell's he mad? Even if all sexual stuff aside, why would he be mad? I mean, he should be at least happy that there's something there to talk to him, something to fill the void, the other than his own voice and that.
He wanted to fill a void.
She's doing it again. But all he does now is like he honks a horn and talks to himself here or there. Now he's got another horn to honk. So he should be happy.
We need like an innuendo counter at the bottom of the screen, I think.
No, we'll just call this a PG-13 podcast.
Yeah.
I'm
Wrong.
trying. I'm trying.
No,
to be
you're-
good.
You're doing fine. You're doing
If we
just
go off the
fine.
rails, it's fine.
Don't tell me that.
But that, like, the point where he is telling her that she's being mocked, she's crying tears, that ends the first act of this because it's like a 2-act episode. With that said, with everything that's been thrown out there before we get into like the how the, of course, Orion belt can be seen from this asteroid, what did you guys think of the first half? What was your overall thoughts? Did you feel it worked? Did you feel it didn't work? I know we talked about what he would and would not do with the robot, but like overall, what do you think of the first part?
Well, I was wondering, were we missing a part like where she gives him water, or does it end with him saying, "I won't accept you"?
I mean, I guess they are in. There's a part where they're in the house and he
Because
like rejects.
with-
That's when she goes, "You're mocking me" and stuff like that. I'm like,
Okay, but there's a part
was
in
giving
there
you
that
water for-
really, yeah, but there's a part in there that really strikes like probably as risque as they could get with Twilight Zone at the time. Like she says, "I can feel thirst," and then he's like, "Can you feel heat?" Yes. Can you feel cold? That whole like thirst and heat part of it, and maybe that's just 21st century looking back, but there's some pretty charged, if you go by that
Oh,
definition,
yeah.
there's some charged words in there.
She thirsty.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
she
she was like the
traveled with
Dutch
those
oven.
two.
I'm
But
sorry, what were you
think
saying?
I was gonna just say, you think for the time, and I don't know, those connotations for those words at that point might not have been just basic thirst, basic heat, basic cold, but like looking at it from now, I mean, there is quite a lot of, sexual tension and just that sense of things.
There are multiple angles you can look at. the
Yeah, they were
verbiage
doing
in
all
this
over the place with
episode.
multiple angles.
The positioning was just everything.
It is. It totally is.
I mean, is this the kind of robot that's flexible? Can it like bend its legs up in like different angles? Is this like a spider robot? Is this the General Grievous of robots?
Probably not that much.
Oh man,
I want to know if he's
the
you know
things
what
robots can do.
from
Smoker's
the
coughing off.
female angle on this. I want to know if he's flexible.
I mean,
After
he's old
2
and
years?
crotchety. I don't know how. He's probably all full of sand. He hates himself,
Well, he better be flexible. That's all I'm going to say, because
I
she
mean-
deserves pleasure too.
After 2 years of being stuck on that rock, he ain't going to be much of anything, at least at first. The first few times are going to be kind of quick and over.
He's going to need a little bit of lube.
Oh god. So Jacob, did you have anything else? Like, was there anything else you wanted to talk about on the first part?
No, I mean, I did actually like the setup because, like you said, this is less of a 3-act. I mean, you could maybe look at it as 3. It is kind of like a 2-act story, and
Yeah.
that is actually one of the issues I had with it when we get to the end. I'll talk about, but as far as the first act goes, the setup, I did like it. I mean, I liked the implications of where it could go. Get your gears turning, thinking of, how's this going to work out? What's going to happen? Because I think we all know going into it, once all that happens, it's not like he's going to hate her forever. We expect him to like develop some type of feelings for her, but what's going to happen from there? And that's what I liked about the setup of this story, and I think they did a pretty good job of that.
Well, it's funny because when they come back from commercial break, however long commercial break is, I think it's like 2 minutes long. They're basically underneath the stars. They're looking up at somehow. Like I said, I've been complaining about how the hell they can see Orion's belt from this 9 million far away asteroid, and he's talking to her like he's finally in love with her and stuff like that. And as we're going to see in this episode or this final conclusion, it's like we don't get enough time with Alicia. We get some time, but because it's only 25 minutes, they have to wrap it up and get him off the planet and stuff like that. But I would love to be able to see like this episode start out not even with Allenby, just with this guy Corey with this woman, and then the big twist at the end is Allenby arrives, says you've been pardoned, and then we realize it's a robot, stuff like that. But
that would have been cool.
Yeah, but she has basically lashed onto him. He's finally in love with her, feels like she's a person. And then we get to the whole concept that we see the spaceship arriving. He realizes, she actually realizes, it's a little early for him to come back. They just came back like 3 months ago or whatever. Leading into, before we get into the Allenby stuff, like, did you feel that this was starting to get a little rushed? Do you feel like the writer, Rod Serlings, was trying to wrap this up too quickly? What do you guys think?
I felt like it was missing a second act, like you said, or starting off with them together and ditching the first act. I feel like we were missing that part of like getting to know her and them, because like it goes from him like whooping her ass and hating her to commercial break, and then they come back and he's in love, and he realizes she's a real person. It is very rushed. I mean, I would have been okay with that, except for where it ends up going in the end, which is, yeah, we'll get there in a minute. But I just wanted more of. I felt like we were missing that second act, because we were missing the second act. There's the first act, there's a third act, and there's just no second act. There's like a few like remnants of them like playing chess and sitting under the stars, but that's literally what, like 60 seconds. Yeah. And I guess it's because they had to cram it into this 30-minute time slot. I do wonder, was the original story maybe longer than that? I don't know how Serling wrote, if he wrote knowing, I've got 30 minutes and that's it, or if maybe he wrote longer stories and then adapted these into those. I'm not sure, but it really seems like there's more story there about them to give the ending a bit more impact.
The one thing I would say with this to this point is we don't really get to know Alicia, because like there's a line in there about how he felt like Alicia was an extension of him. So I think from some perspective, him, her to some extent. Yeah. Like she is made to please and to fit to him more than anything else.
Well, it never really goes into it, but I was thinking what I kind of took from it was kind of like in more modernized sci-fi with robots and things, when they're first awakened or born, they're kind of blank to a degree. They're only programming. They don't have a lot of like actual AI. They're kind of blank and to a degree. And then as they interact with people, they learn more and become more aware and become more lifelike. Right. And I'm kind of get that with her. Like when she was first talking to him, she was like, "My name is Alicia. What is your name?" Kind of, she had a very, not that robotic, but she had a robotic voice.
In that road,
yeah. And then by the end, by the middle, she's talking much more. It's supposed to be 11 months, I believe.
Yep.
She's talking a lot more human. And I think maybe that's where he was at least kind of sort of that thought process, is she developed her personality based on him and knowing him. So that would be kind of like why to know her is to know me, and vice versa. She's an extension of me.
I think that's probably what they were trying to do with knowing that they had the limited schedule. My guess is that line was put in there to kind of help to bridge that.
And I do think that's pretty cool. That is very much like the Twilight Zone is a lot of times. That is forward thinking to a degree. I mean, you find that a lot in the Twilight Zone, to where like there'll be things that pop up and maybe they're not exactly like that, but there are things that pop up in that show that at the time were science fiction, but now at least a variation of that is science fact. And it is more, when it comes to the Twilight Zone, while it's a fantastical version of it, it is more in line and realistic-ish to what will eventually come compared to other media of the time.
Exactly. But you do get a lot of that with any really good sci-fi. Like you look at Jules Verne, like what he came up with. I mean, you look at great sci-fi across history, and they are to some extent able to like think ahead on what they know and build off of that to the point where we see what's out there. You can even take Star Trek from the 60s and the communicators and things like that. Like there is some truth to that.
Yeah,
So,
so great science fiction is science
transcends.
fiction today and science fact tomorrow.
Exactly.
That if you ever talk to a scientist or somebody is developing, especially the ones that are developing murder robots today, they're all influenced by the Twilight Zone and Star Trek.
Mhm.
Yeah. And anime or whatever. And when you said AI, I thought you were going to talk about the Steven Spielberg movie, because this robot Alicia is like David, the Haley Joel Osment character, where it comes out in a package. It's imprinted onto Corey's character like David is to the mother who her son's almost dying, and in the end it almost feels like a lifelike human being, but we know it's a robot, but it feels like it just has the same kind of concept and theory behind it. And that's what I always found interesting, because if you think about what Rod Serling is doing, is like you said, he is considered to me a very forward thinking person. He thought about the stuff that we could be dealing with today, because if you look at like the monsters to do on Maple Street, or the one that's about the black guy who gets lynched, I can't remember, it's like Dark as Night or something like that. Those are very prevalent in today's society. Stuff about space and going to these things and locations, or how Earth collapses upon itself. You look at the Man in the Mountain or whatever, and it's about the fears that we have about what is not, that we don't see, and how we're kind of influenced, stuff like that. That's what these kind of episodes are so important in the scheme of things, is they actually push forward the ideas and concepts of, not in this sense because we're not going to be wearing tracksuits or anything like that, but
You never know, man.
Oh yeah, it'd be awesome. Yeah,
Nanotech is a great thing.
exactly.
Running around in Nike tracksuits, just bucket naked under everybody. Just
2001: A Space Odyssey. Everybody wears white.
wind kicks up and you just.
I just want
Great.
I want the drugs that what's his face was on when he like saw all the bright lights coming towards him. He went into like a different dimension or whatever. I haven't seen 2001 in forever, but
Yeah, that was that stuff that Tom Cruise was taking in Minority Report. That's
Yeah,
what that
there
was.
you go.
exactly.
Like a vape. I mean, look at that. Hey, well, once again, there's great science fiction that's become actually has become science fact, if you will. Like I was saying a minute ago, we laugh about it, but I mean, in that movie, 2001, I believe is when it came, no pun intended, but that's when it came out, I think, or 2002. In that movie, the drug was like this little capsule thing. He puts it in, and it's like a vape, pretty much, and he gets stoned. I mean, we have those now. I mean, that's not what this is. This is just nicotine, but they have the ones where people are doing drugs by vaping now. So that's much like this show. That's one of the situations where fiction became fact.
Oh yeah. Well, and I think the fact that there's so much of that influence, like you said, a lot of the people that are scientists today were influenced by Twilight Zone. A lot of the stuff that's out there today will influence the next generation of scientists because of what it is. And they make that stuff reality because it's what they grew up on.
I mean, look at depending on what you think about the guy or not, somebody like Elon Musk. I mean, he's clearly inspired by Spaceballs, and now he's got cars that run around going ludicrous mode, plaid mode, and stuff like that from Spaceballs. I mean, that's a little different, but you know what I mean. He's obviously influenced by that as a child.
Did you see his ex-girlfriend? She looked like a leather-clad dark helmet, the way she was dressed.
Oh yeah, with the Communist Manifesto thing that she was.
I don't know what was going. I don't know what was going on with that costume, but she looked like she was like doing some bondage work or something. I don't know, but
I don't know what was going on there. I think I saw that picture too, though. She was kind of that was an odd choice, but hey, when you're rich, you can do shit like that.
Oh yeah, I mean,
that's right.
Tom Cruise jumped up and down on a couch, so hey, he opened the door.
Yeah, he opened a lot of doors.
Yeah, we don't talk about
that. So the story continues with basically we get Allenby and his two jerk employees with him. Actually, are they different this time?
No, the same one.
It's the same assholes.
Same jerk employees. And they land, and they like Allenby's coming over like fat guy. He's trying to go for a turkey or something like that. He's like, yeah, I got good news for you. And he's like, your party came up, and I don't know if like Corey's in like a different headspace or whatever. And they're talking about like all these partings got taken care of, and they finally tell him we have to leave in 20 minutes, but you only can bring like 15 pounds of stuff, which, you know, I don't know what the spaceship is, but they rescued 7 other people. And that's where we get to like the really, yeah, I'm like, I don't know how many people, I don't know how much this ship was weigh. Like, you think a ship like this would be able to carry like millions of pounds or hundreds of thousands of pounds or whatever. And here it can only carry like 9 people.
You look at all the other stuff though, it's only built to handle so much weight. Like if you look, and not that Apollo 11 was from the 60s, so clearly, you know, quite a bit of difference, but they allot so much weight, and if you've got, you know, a bunch of fat asses on your thing,
There's
what are you gonna do?
there's a really from around. It was a little bit before this time. It was, I think, written in the 40s. It may have been the 50s actually. It's 40s or 50s. There's a great story. Oh man, I can't remember the guy's name, but the story's called The Cold Equation, and it's a short story. They actually made it into a full-length movie with Bruce Campbell's brother.
Oh, nice.
Oh, if you like the story, it's okay watch, but it's, you know, it's low budget. But anyway, it's basically about that. It's about how you have these spaceships that are so streamlined and like allotted exactly the amount of fuel that they need to get from here to here. So if there's any variable, you're going to crash. So like with that, I mean, I kind of hearkened to that when I didn't think the show was necessarily hearkening back to that because it would have been around the same time. Maybe they were, but I did think of that when they said that. I was like, you know, maybe it's a fuel thing, I guess. Because like in that story, what it basically is he has a stowaway who's a 12-year-old girl, and then you don't know it as the reader, but until about halfway through the story, he's sitting there doing all these things, and she's just like, it's not that big a deal. And what he's trying to do is figure out a way he can make it work, but it turns out he can't, and he has to jettison her out the airlock.
Wow.
Just because she wanted to go see her brother somewhere. It's the Cold Equation. It's like, because he's taking, I know I'm derailing this episode, but he's taking a cure for a disease to this other planet, a colony. So like something like 30 people are depending on him making it there. So if he stops and turns around, or if he throws out some of the stuff he needs to get there, doesn't make it there, 30 people die. So it's like you have 30 lives versus 1. What do we do? And, you know, well, spoiler alert, 30 make it, 1 doesn't.
Well, there was this movie on Netflix that came out a few months back, and it's about these 3 astronauts who are trained to go to, I think, Mars or something like that, and they have just enough to support them. I think it's called Stowaway, actually. Stowaway. But then
I didn't see it, but I know what you're talking about.
You did see it?
No, I didn't see it, but I know which one movie you're talking about.
But there's this guy that's like a worker or whatever. He somehow lands on the ship, and things start going chaos, and they have to figure out who to get off the ship to kill, or basically kill off, because they can't afford to, you know, because they only have a certain amount of stuff. And yeah, it's a very depressing thought, but it's like, you know, if you only have a certain amount of weight, certain amount of food, someone has to die.
Yeah, that's a cannibal. It's like the same idea, probably based at least somewhat on that idea, but good short story, by the way. Check it out. I mean, it's really only, I don't know, maybe 20 pages long.
Oh,
something like that. So it's not a long story, but it's a really good story. It's well written. And it's one of the first stories I read. I remember reading it when I was an older teen, and I was like, oh shit, they did that. I wasn't you keep expecting in the story them to find out a way, figure it out. Mm-hmm. And then when it gets to the end and he has to do the deed, and it's really tough on him, but he has to do it for the greater good. It's like, wow. Yeah. I was like, you don't expect that, especially from a story from like the 50s. You're like, oh no, they're going to figure something out. And they never do. Because it's a 12-year-old kid too, an innocent girl. But it doesn't matter. That's just the cold, hard fact of that type of thing that's going on there. That's why the fuel thing made sense to me.
Yeah.
In this episode.
But you know, this one kind of ends that same way to some. I mean, it does have you know, bits of that when we do get to the end with what goes down.
Well, yeah, like we'll actually go there. So he's given his pardon. He's told he can only bring 15 pounds. He has been on this planet for a long time, so his thought process is not really working. He's like, let me go get Alicia. And Allenby's like, oh, not this again. And then he tries to find Alicia. But anyways, he's like, you can't bring Alicia because she's too heavy. And he's like, no, 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 that's not how this works. And then he goes running after to Alicia because he can't find her in the house. And they find Alicia in the crater, I guess the same area where they were, looking at Orion's belt.
Hiding behind a rock.
Basically.
Yeah.
Like, not doing a good job either. But anyway.
But this is what is considered one of the most shocking moments in Twilight Zone history. Alan B just straight up not cold cocks, but straight up cold in a cold nature just
Murders
shoots
her
Alicia in
ass.
the face. Yeah. And we see that she's just parts and wires. But it's depressing because this guy came to know this woman or this robot as a human woman, and he grew to love her. And here, this guy with no sympathy at all just shoots her in the face, and instead of letting Corey do it or something like that. And it ends with, I must remember that. I must remember to keep that in mind, because assuring him he will only be leaving behind loneliness. And what do you guys like? I know I'm skipping like quickly in this segment, but what was your guys' overall thought about this kind of really messed up moment? Like a really messed up moment for something that came out in '59.
I was really, and still am, kind of torn and divided on the end of this episode, because part of me doesn't like it, not because of what happens, but because of what I wanted to happen. And part of me likes it because it was bold, because he just straight pulls his gun out and he's like, hey dude, this is how it's got to be. And like, you expect him to stop her, kind of like I was talking about with the story a minute ago, or stop him. You expect him to stop him from shooting. He just shoots her in the face. And he's like, you blew my e-girl's face off. And like, she's down there all Westworld with like her face all jacked up. And like that part, I mean, I did like that, how they went there and just shot this. I mean, as a robot, but at the same time, we view her as a human being, kind of like he does.
Yep.
And they just shot her in the face. But really, I got to say, as far as the ending goes, because as soon as that rocket dropped down and they're like, oh, they're early, we all knew, okay, yeah, he got pardoned. We know what the thing's going to be. He got pardoned, and he can't take, for whatever reason, he's not going to be able to take her. And that's going to be the issue here. And like, I was thinking it would have been, I don't know if it would have been more interesting or not if like he either decided to stay and just stayed with her, or something else other than just shooting her in the face. I was thinking there would be something a little bit more. That's what this episode was kind of, I guess, the ironic twist of fate, if you will, that I was talking about in the beginning of the episode, was that he finally came to care about this person for lack of a better term, this person, this object, and then he has it taken away from him. And he thought he had lost everything, and he finally found something that really made him happy out here in the middle of nowhere. And now, going back to what he originally wanted, he is losing everything again. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So I guess that is the ironic twist of fate, if you will. But it just kind of ends like you shoot her in the face and then it's over. I was just expecting, I wanted something a little more. I thought it would have been more poignant if he stayed behind and they did make that point to where, he lost everything, but then he found everything and he didn't want to lose everything again or something like that. I don't know.
Well, it's like when you think about a story, and I'm trying to think about a movie where I can't remember what the name of it is, but you have somebody who has been on this rock for 3-4 years or whatever it is, finally gets somebody that relates to him, that he feels comfortable with, gets that taken away from him, and now he's going to a place that is going to be even more lonely for him because he's been isolated for so long. That really affects someone. It makes you wonder, like, does this episode deal with like the causes and causality of what it's like for things to change for a particular individual, and how loneliness is a thing that doesn't matter where you are, can affect you in specific ways. And like I said, he's going to a place where he may not even be happy. He might be like the guy from Shawshank Redemption and end up like hanging himself or something.
I was just thinking about that.
And I think it may have been even more interesting, possibly, if they went with, they did, if sticking with the way that they did in the episode with, him leaving, it could have been even more interesting if instead of shooting her in the face, how about they land and they say, hey, you've been pardoned. And he's like super excited, and he does just leave. And he's like, he kind of has this change of heart in the moment. He says, oh, well, she's just a robot. And he goes in the excitement of being able to get out of there. But then maybe we see him back on Earth or wherever he's going, I guess Earth, or maybe on the way. Maybe we see him a little bit after he leaves, and he's gotten what he's been saying he wanted so long. But then when he's got that, he realizes what he actually wanted was that's back there, and now he's lost it again. I think that would have been even more interesting, and then just like show her standing on the planet all alone or something. And now, in his haste to get what he thought he wanted, he lost what he ended up truly wanting. And he also condemned this other thing that they did say she has feelings, she has emotions, she cares, she is a mechanical thing, but she is essentially, because they didn't have the term then, I guess maybe AI, she's a living thing. So, he lost it all again, and he condemned this entity to the same fate. I think that would have been more interesting, but who am I to tell Rod Serling what the hell to do?
See, I was looking at this and I kind of thought like when because obviously Corey was fighting about leaving and they had only so much time. I think he shot the robot in the face, or shot Alicia in the face, to prove to him that, hey, this is a robot. That shock value kind of pulled him back to where he needed to be to some extent. And they regarded it was shocking, and there was a ton of other ways you could have taken this, and it would have been maybe a better option. But I do think I don't know.
I'd be afraid the guy would lose his shit because you just killed this woman he loved, and even though it's a robot, he would like take the gun from you and shoot you.
Well, and the other thing is too, you could have they didn't try to and not that they're obviously what we're shown is really all we have, but you couldn't have taken out her memory chips or whatever version of that. You wouldn't have needed the body. You could have just taken the personality part of it.
Oh, he needed the body.
He could have gotten another body on Earth. I was actually surprised that they didn't take him back to Earth, get rid of Alicia, go back to Earth, and then he's at a bar and runs across a human version of Alicia or someone that looked close. But I did, when I was looking through this, the idea of how people come in and out of our life kind of came to mind. You have that person that comes into your life for a little while, and then whether it be some bad circumstance or some good circumstance, they get a different job, they move on, you mourn that loss, but then because of that person, you're better and more equipped to handle what comes next. And maybe she was that stopgap that he needed to get over the loneliness, to get him through, to get him back to Earth.
Well, I know that because we're theorizing on all this stuff, and
absolutely,
even me, I said, I think it would have been better this way because all of a sudden I'm a writer. But at the end of the day, I know the episode, what it was trying to get across was about technology and our relationship with it. And I think, in fact, it even says on this thing I'm looking at, it says the episode explores the reality of modern transhumanism and the societal acceptance of corrupted technology to replace or mimic human capabilities, emotions, interests, and understandings. And I think that looking at it from that perspective, that okay, I see where they're coming. I see why I shot it. He's showing that, hey, it's not real. Chill out. Because this was in a time when technology was all this new technology was on a crazy rise, and people were afraid of these things.
It's now, to some extent.
Yeah, but I think that people now have a bit more of an understanding of technology, at least to a degree, as a whole. Not everybody, but at least somewhat of it. Back then, it was just it was all sci-fi. It was oh my god, that robots are going to take over and all this and that. And I think they were trying to go there. So I get where they're going with that. I still think that I wish they had gone the way I said, but of course I do. That's me. But I mean, as far as what they were trying to get across, I guess I understand that, why they went that route. It's just, I don't know, maybe, and this may be one, honestly, that is a little bit of its time. It's a little bit dated because we find it hard to kind of look at that, because look at the world we live in. We have assistants on our phones, little voices and personalities that pop out of our phones that are robots. I mean, and we talk to them willy-nilly daily. We'll pick up our phone and ask Google or Siri or whatever something. It's a norm for us. This is a normal thing. We're not afraid of it. Back then, there was kind of this fear that this technology is going to be our end.
Yeah.
And things like that. So maybe it's not as impactful to us because of that.
Maybe. Well, I got a whole story arc. I was thinking about this as you guys were talking. That's why I've been talking very much. So here's how I would if I were Rod Serling today and I scripted this show, I would have Corey, I would have Alicia. They're on this rock. At least we may think it's Earth. They're in the middle of the desert. Maybe they love to be super hot, or I don't know. And
They are super hot.
Yeah.
but we've been with
established
this.
They
But
finna get
you
hot,
could spend.
sweaty and sticky. We're derailing
can
your
spend-
story.
Oh my gosh.
Remember, she
Um,
fills a void for him. No, he fills a
Oh
void
my
for her. Anyway.
So you have the story. You're following these characters for 20 minutes or so. You're getting all this or not really backstory, but you're getting all this development of these two characters. And then at the very end, Allenby shows up. We see that they're on a planet. We see that he's convicted murderer. He tries to explain that she is a robot, and in the process, he's not willing to accept it. And I was thinking you go the route where he's always been trying to convince him that he's never been a murderer. He gets that pardon, and he's like, the Allenby takes the gun out, but he wrestles the gun away from him. And either maybe Alicia gets shot that way by accident. We find out that it is a robot, and then, or you could go the route where he shoots Allenby, he shoots the other two characters, Ted Knight or whatever, takes the ship for himself and goes,
Please shoot them.
Yeah.
He goes on a wild bender across space and time.
It's a space trucker.
Yeah.
You'd be like,
With
You can
Dennis
take,
Hopper, Brad Dorff, Steven Dorff.
Space
Fuck
prostitute.
it. Have Brad Dorff too. Chucky's in this thing as well.
he takes
The
his
space
car,
pirates show up too. Ice pirates.
Oh my god.
Space herpes.
Eunuchs on board, everything. He starts a whole civilization.
Then they end up
Half
back on
man,
Earth
half
because it's
robot.
and
Man
suddenly he
butts.
becomes a eunuch. Oh, poor Nick. I'm sorry.
No, I had not.
Like,
That's
this
not
episode
even,
was supposed to
mine
end
is
30
not as
minutes
funny
ago.
as that. No, but he was he takes her to the ship and she's like, "Take me to space, Rocket Man," and they fly off and you hear
Rocket Man.
eunuch.
Take me to space
they
on
came
your
with the
dick
song.
rocket.
If
You
we
know
can
that new
afford,
sound you've been looking for?
if we can afford Elton John's Rocket Man, it just
Oh, yeah.
plays as soon as she says that.
Yeah.
They take off.
Um,
Oh god.
that's where I would take the episode. But
I
with
think
that
that's good,
said, we have some closing narration, and Jacob, I'll let you finish it
Oh,
out.
oh, sure. Absolutely. I would love to. In my faux Serling voice. Let's see here. Where's it? Closing narration. Oh, it's a lot less than the first time.
Thank God
It's
for that.
easier. My eyes have dried up a little bit too soon.
You're in Death Valley, aren't you?
Not as juicy. Okay. On a microscopic piece of sand that floats through space is a fragment of a man's life. Let to rest the place he lived and the machines he used. Without use, they will disintegrate from the wind and the sand and the years that act upon them. All of Mr. Corey's machines, including the one made in his image, kept alive by love, but now obsolete in the Twilight Zone.
Man, kept alive by love.
You know what's weird? So when I read the synopsis for this, because it had been a while since I saw it, when they said that he had machines, I assumed that like it was more than just a shack in the middle of the desert with, just a car and then Alicia. To know that he had just two machines, it's like, wait a second, that's weird.
I mean, he might have more machines like in a crate or something in there that we don't see because it was the 50s and they can't show everything.
That's true.
There might be some machines of pleasure that they dropped off for him.
He broke all those two. They were hoping Alicia would last.
Oh my
No.
god.
She got broken in half in the first week. I'm telling
Oh
you.
God. I will say, so I remember when I watched this, because it's been a while, when they pulled out the gun, I thought that he was going to jump in front of the gun and he would be killed. And I don't know why that came to mind, but anyway.
I mean, that would actually still work into the whole thing that the episode was trying to get into. How it was talking about our acceptance of technology and how there was this fear of it mimicking and taking over. Maybe not taking over physically, but taking over his mind, if you will, and making him see it as a real thing so much. Which, I mean, there's even, we hear stories similar to that nowadays of these people that have these love affairs with like
Parasocial
dolls.
relationships. Yeah.
like dolls and things like that, and just really crazy stuff on the internet. But I mean, that would have probably still fell in line with what they're trying to say if he ended up dying. You know, he got his pardon and everything, and they ended up shooting him accidentally.
What if the twist was, hey, the woman was real, but he wasn't?
He was the robot.
Oh, there you go. I
Yeah.
like that.
That's
There you
like
go.
very 2005 twist right there. I like it.
Which twist do you want, the 2005 or the 59?
2021 would be that she was real, but she is
he was a woman. Yeah.
and he was not real, but he was a non-binary robot. I don't know, something like that. We'd have to throw some buzzwords in there.
Good times. Good
But
times.
she's definitely a he.
No,
This
looks
isn't my
good.
channel.
It looks good.
This
This isn't my
going
channel,
to
by the way.
places.
So no offense to anyone. I'm just just joking.
Oh my god. Okay, so with that said, the
That just got
episode is
cut.
officially yeah, there's gonna be a lot of like, what is going on? Why is Nick just staring into space? There's like nothing going on there.
Get more of a dead stare than I do.
See that one guy, his mouth's moving, but there's no words coming out. It's like he's muted.
Why is he quoting Field of Dreams? What is
Yeah.
going on here?
And Triv's just going,
So with that said, with everything said and done, this episode to you guys, do you still love it after watching it? Is it still one of those episodes that you think is, top tier Twilight Zone? I know, Jacob, you said that you like, pretty much every Twilight Zone episode you think is pretty great. But what is your overall feeling of this episode, including intro, including robots and all that good stuff?
I mean, there's robots, so that automatically adds a few points. But in all seriousness, I wouldn't call it. I don't know if I would call it top tier Twilight Zone. It's definitely not bottom tier, but it was a good episode. I enjoyed it. It did what it set out to do. I just, like I said a moment ago, after talking about it, I do think maybe it is just a little bit more. It's a little bit more difficult for us to look at it the way they intended originally, because of the times that we live in and how it is one thing that has probably been dated about it. Not dated, just we look at it with a different perspective. That's why we're
Same
like, I think it
story,
should have ended this way.
different interpretation.
Yeah, and that being said, just knowing where it's coming from, I did enjoy it. Overall, I enjoyed it. It's not one of the worst. Once again, I haven't seen all these episodes in 20-ish years, so it'd be hard for me to say, oh, it's better than this one or better than that one. But it's I can't say it's one of my favorites because there's I can't remember how many episodes. Like 100? No, there's like 150, right? 150.
I think it's somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's probably, if it just had to throw, I'd say it's somewhere in the middle. It's a solid episode.
I'd say upper middle, I think, because it is it was a quick watch. It tells, even though the story is relatively simple, it does manage to tell a relatively complex story, or simply complex story, in a pretty decent time. And the parts that they were kind of lacking on, I think they did try to bring apart or bring across, the notion of her being an extension of him, liking the things that he liked. You do get the development there based on that line, which was an intelligent line. So
I got a question real quick, not to cut you guys off, but it did seem really quick. And like I said, it's been a long time since I've watched these. Were they all right there about that 26, 28 minute mark? Or I just thought
they all run really quick. We've watched 6 episodes and they all just blast through pretty quickly.
Well, 16mm Shrine ran a little bit long, and I felt like Denton on Doomsday was a little long too. But
I don't know why I remember them being an hour long. But
there are some that
the
are
4 seasons. Entire 4 seasons, 1 hour each.
Okay, maybe
And
that's
they're way too long.
Yeah, and see, there's the thing. I do wonder, if they took this idea, we're sitting here saying we needed more, we needed that second act and all that. If they stretch this out to an hour, would it be too much at that point? I wonder.
Yeah.
Well, see, that's where I'll get into my problems with the episode. It's that simple fact that, we were joking earlier, but I seriously think that if you were to do an episode like that and you kind of maybe took a step back, you have him already with the robot. Maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't know. or maybe it's that kind of nice surprise that we find out that she's a robot. But you have all that 20 minutes or 23 minutes before Allenby comes out, and you can just have a great dimensional, pairing. And I think when you say it's missing that second act, that's the problem. You throw in this whole like 5-minute segment of Allenby and his douchebag employees, and then you throw in the Alicia character, which is like 10 minutes at the most. It starts to suffer a little bit. There are episodes in this series, which like Walking Distance or Escape Clause is perfect. It has a great beginning, middle, and end, but some episodes just suffer because they feel like they're trying to thrust too much in there. So maybe take a step back, and that's just my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree. I think that would have been a good route for them to go, because that whole first portion before Allenby and everybody gets there to give him the robot and all that stuff is just really illustrating how he's lonely, which I feel like any human being could understand. Being stuck on a rock for 2 years all by yourself with just a shack and a non-working car would be really lonely. They could have done that with some type of non-forced exposition, conversational exposition in there somewhere closer to the end. I do find that is a fascinating idea, to take like this exact story and just tell it in a different way by saying they're together and he doesn't, or we don't even know she's a robot until the end. I did like that you said a while ago. That'd be a really neat, more of a twisty turny ending there at the end. How would the rest of this, the other 20 minutes or whatever go?
I would say you could almost, sorry to cut you off. You could almost have it be the point where you never even see Allenby until like the very end, but he gets like his food and equipment just dropped from like a spaceship like flies over or something like that, or they have a lander that flies over, drops the shit on the ground and flies off, and you could have Corey's character just drive up, pick up the package, realizes there's a gigantic box there and it has instructions, open for sexy time, and you take the woman back to the shack, and you could have like 20 minutes right there. Just cut out the Allenby stuff at the beginning.
If it could be 20 minutes, it wouldn't last 20 minutes. Like
foreplay.
120 seconds.
Cuddle.
Maybe. 2 years. Come on. And then who knows? He may have been in prison before. It may have been longer than 2 years. It said open for sexy time. It's getting opened right there. Out in the desert. He's the only one there.
He bores a hole in the side and goes to town.
I'm gonna get a sunburn on my ass this afternoon.
That's just my take on it. Like I said, it's not a bad episode, but after watching like Escape Clause and Walking Distance, the 2 episodes in a row, this just suffers a lot from the problems that like Mr. Denton on Doomsday and 16mm Shrine. There's a great concept there. I just don't think it's entirely executed very well and leaves a lot to be desired in the middle. So that's my LaCroix opinion. LaCroix.
Are you saying it goes flabby or flaccid?
Yeah, in the middle. It just loses its girth.
It's flaccid right there in the middle.
Exactly. So before we move on to the next segment, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about on this episode? Do you have anything else you want to bring up about it? Anything that we missed? All that good stuff.
Yeah, Trev, anything you want to bring up?
Like
get into?
I'm coming to my point.
Poke around.
You have any tips?
Dive, yeah.
I do not have tips. I
just
leave those to my co-hosts.
Man.
Just the tip.
Besides that, I've got this mic back here, so I got everything I need.
This will be the episode. This will be the episode that breaks us out of 9 viewers.
Yeah, we'll have like 6.
Yeah. No, we'll have 11. It'll be good.
You guys are putting a lot of faith in people coming to see me.
Well, they don't come to see me. You can tell by my channel stats. So,
I mean, they come to see me, but they just yell at me. So,
well, at least they come. It's engagement.
That's it. Yeah, at least they come. That's what matters.
Yeah. They come all over the place.
Exactly. So, anyways, did you guys have anything else you wanted to say on the episode?
I mean, I think the fact that they really went for, and I know that it was the 50s and it's definitely a different level of stuff, but the fact that they went to Death Valley to film this, I mean, they were going for a certain level of realism, and I give them massive props for that, because that kind of equipment now doesn't fare very well in extreme temperatures. I can't imagine how much they went through then in filming this.
So we're gonna end this entire crazy fest of innuendos and stuff like
we went
that.
off the rails so freaking early. Holy shit!
It's fine.
That's what I'm here to do.
Yay!
So I'm sure you know, Jacob, I stole this from another podcast, but we're ranking the Twilight Zone episodes. And since I don't know how much you really listen when you listen, the top ranked episode right now is Walking Distance, which is about the guy in the town that walks a lot. The second
wow, that's so profound.
I know.
Number
2 is
story.
I gather there's a little bit more to it than that, but that's a good.
He sees Ron Howard at some point, I think.
He goes back to his past, and he tries to he goes back to the town when he was a kid. And
no, you're wrong. He sees Ron Howard, and he's like, Opie, catch me a fish.
Yeah.
So anyways, we have Walking Distance is number 1. Number 2 is One for the Angels. Number 3 is Escape Clause. 4 is Mr. Dent on Doomsday. 5 is Where Is Everybody? 6 is the 60mm Shrine. I'll ask both of you. What's that?
Well,
where would you?
The only episode I haven't seen of you guys is the newest one. I think it just posted today as of this recording.
That's
that's the clause. Escape Clause. Yeah.
Anyway. So if you were to choose, where would you place this episode? Like just in.
Well, seeing as how I haven't seen the other episodes in 20 years, going off of you guys' shows, listening to them, probably above 16mm Shrine. What was the other?
You said you would put middle of the road, right? Okay, so 60mm Shrine is of course at the bottom because it deserves that.
It's like Sunset Boulevard.
Where's Everybody is the pilot. That's the one where the guy's walking around the town that has no people in it. It ends up being a pilot. Mr. Dent on Doomsday is the one where the guy is a drunk and he takes the tonic from Henry Fate.
Yeah.
And Escape Clause is the guy who makes a deal with the devil.
I remember Escape. It's not better than Escape Clause. It's gonna be, just going off of my extremely bad memory, I'm gonna say it's like from the bottom, number 1 being the 16mm Shrine. I'm gonna say it would be maybe number 3.
Okay, so between Escape Clause and Mr. Denton on Doomsday.
Mr. Denton on it's right, doing that number. Because I just haven't seen him in so long, and a lot of it's going off of memory, which is a terrible idea, and hearing you guys' show. It might be number 2 or number 3 of the episodes that you guys have already done.
Well, let me ask you, Triv. Do you think that's actually pretty where I was kind of aiming? Do you think Mr. Dent on Doomsday is a stronger episode? Do you think it has better character? It doesn't have sexy robot, but does it have better characterization and dimension to it?
To some extent, yes. I feel like the ending was it had more of a happy ending just because, and this is from a modern perspective. At the time, I think it probably would have been like this one above Denton on Doomsday just because of the messages of the time and how shocking it was. But they would either tie, or it would be Denton, I think, would be slightly above it, I think. Like the message is profound, but talking about it and kind of getting more in depth on it, on both from a modern perspective and as of the time.
Dude, this is my issue. This is where it's gonna become a real problem as we get later in the seasons, when we get to like the 60s and 70s.
Right.
I like Mr. Dent on Doomsday. I think it's a much better story. I even think Where's Everybody's a much better story because it's more cohesive. I think that middle act of The Lonely is absolutely not good. It's fun to see Alicia, but you've added so much of this intro and so much of this ending that it just feels like it falls flat. But like I said, I'm willing to bend for whichever number you want, which is that didn't come out right, but you know what I mean.
No, I understand. So I should get a strap on then, is what you're saying.
Sure, we'll do the.
She did it. I didn't say a word. I was sitting here. I said I'm not going to say anything.
The thing is,
we'll talk. We'll talk Requiem for a Dream someday.
Right.
You know.
Oh, well, double-ended.
Okay, so you look at this one versus Where Is Everybody? Both deal with loneliness. Both deal or isolation and loneliness. both deal with like space travel and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot about this episode that I liked. I liked the questions that it raises and some of the multiple interpretations that you could take it. For me, I think it's probably going to go, and I know I'm breaking with you on this, but I feel like it's a little bit better than Denton just because of the implications of it's a bigger story.
That's where I'm at. Just, and once again, this is based off of you guys' show and my terrible memory. I think that the Mr. Denton, that's the second worst at this point, right?
Third worst. So
Third
it was 16 millimeter Shrine, Where's Everybody, and then
Where's Everybody?
Denton.
I think that Denton is probably better made, like a better narrative as far as the way it's a better execution, maybe from what I'm hearing. But I think that the story and the implications and what this one's about and what it has to say is better than the Denton.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. Like I said, I'm not. If we were to put it at 5 or 6, I'd be whatever. If I were to do a list, I would probably put it near the bottom. But as far as the episode itself, I'm perfectly happy putting it at number 4. I mean, we have plenty of episodes to talk about in the future, so that number 4 is gonna be like 136 by the time we're done. So
very possibly.
Yeah.
As long as this episode of the podcast is number 1.
Woo! Well, it is. Yeah. That goes without saying.
It will definitely not be number 2. I can tell you that much.
Oh, wow.
I was about to make a number 2 joke.
I mean, you still could if you wanted to.
I set it up.
There you go. So we have officially locked in The Lonely at number 4 on our list from best to worst. Number 1 still walking distance, though next week I'll contend that might change. The last episode in the list is 60 millimeter Shrine. But with that said, the next episode is considered one of the great pieces of television maybe in history.
Oh yeah.
I would consider it probably one of the best and most depressing episodes you'll ever watch on the Twilight Zone, especially that ending. But Jacob, I know you've seen this before as well.
Some of the glasses, right?
Yeah, this is Time
the
Enough
glasses
at Last.
thing in the end.
Yeah. And this has Burgess Meredith in his first of 2 great episodes, but you all know this episode. It comes pretty early in the series, and I can't wait to talk about it. So
was Burgess Meredith 2 episodes or 4?
I only remember him in this and the hold on a second, let me look it up. They go all the way back. Damn, he's in a lot of shit. He was in Rocky.
Yeah. He was also in
could have been a contender. Yeah, he's a penguin too.
Oh, he was in 4 episodes. He was in Time Enough at Last, Mr. Dingle the Strong, The Obsolete Man, which is another great episode. Printer's Devil, which I don't think I've ever seen.
Oh, that's a great episode. That's a top 10 one for me.
Okay. That is a season 4 episode. That's an hour-long episode. That's why I didn't watch a lot of the episode 4. I mean season 4. So
he also apparently narrated the Twilight Zone the movie, or Twilight Zone, not the Twilight Zone the movie, but you know what I mean.
Right, I get you.
He was the one where the death of the helicopter death people.
Yeah, he narrated that movie.
The open.
And I think he was the Rod Serling of that movie.
That makes sense.
Which makes sense. Rod Serling's dead, so they get the next best person. So.
Well, and Burgess Meredith is just fun to watch, and he's such an interesting actor.
I remember his voice. I remember because I didn't realize that was him until just now reading that, and I remember the narrator's voice, and it's just not the voice. I mean, I think about it, and I'm like, okay, yeah, that is. It's like a cheery Burgess Meredith. Usually, and a lot of the stuff we get with Burgess Meredith, it's either kind of somber or, of course, we think of Mickey, and it's not that. It's more like
it's upbeat.
Imagine a world where this is, kids are kicking a can down the street. Hey guys, come on, there's this one kid. He makes his sister not have a mouth, and that shit's just crazy. But it's all right, guys. Dan Aykroyd's
I actually want to do that episode as like a Christmas special episode, talking about the Twilight Zone movie, talking about how that fucked me up as a kid.
I love that movie.
Such a
movie. It's not that great from what I remember, but it's awesome for me.
I mean, especially that It's a Good Life episode with the kid and like the weird cartoon house.
That was disturbing as hell. That the sister that scarred me as a child. When she's like watching TV and she's doing this, and it comes up, she's like all Matrix. She's like, I was like, oh my god, somebody's gonna do that to me because I talk too much.
That's why
Well,
we love
actually,
you, Jacob.
the other sister who gets eaten by the cartoon creature is actually Bart Simpson's
Tasmanian
voice.
Devil. Yeah,
Oh,
you're
Yardley
right.
Smith?
Right.
No,
Nancy
The woman.
Nancy Cartwright,
Cartwright. Yeah, Nancy Cartwright.
who was born on my birthday, believe it or not.
Wow, that's cool. You're much cooler than she is, but that's all right.
No, I don't know about that, but
Shut your face.
So, anyways, that'll be next week. We'll get into the nuts and bolts of one of the best episodes in the Twilight Zone. Jacob, I know
Yes.
you're probably tired. I know you want to go through that door and sleep from all the movie you have been doing. Thank you so much for coming on. We will definitely have you in the future, maybe in this
We
season,
appreciate
hopefully. Yeah.
I appreciate you guys having me on. I'd be more than happy to come back and talk more
Woohoo.
Twilight Zone and derail the shit out of your podcast here.
Hell yeah.
Hey, I look forward to it.
Hey, you know what? Nick's got to deal with the edit on this one, so please tangent away, my friend.
Hey, I edited a 5-hour podcast down to an hour and a half. I think I can handle this. So, anyways, where can
the whole
they?
time when it airs, the whole time it's just going to be me doing this.
But the
Well, it's
edits are
better
so
than
choppy. It's like
Well, you are the king of jump cuts, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Was the
He
king of
is,
jump
yeah.
cuts.
I don't know if I'm the king of them, but I definitely utilize jump cuts a lot. If I
But
didn't,
anyways,
nobody would watch my videos if I didn't.
Aw.
so anyways, where can, if they want to see your content, where can they find you? Where can they see you? Where can they send you robots?
Send me all the robots and send them to my YouTube's channel at Jacob Anders Reviews. That's what it's called. I'm also on Twitter. You can find me on at Red Neville 2, and I'm on Facebook and stuff. But I'm never on there, so don't bother. But
Well,
yeah, I
Facebook's
do.
dead right now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I heard something. What's
It's back
we'll
up.
talk about that later. But
Yeah.
I think Triv sent me something about that. But anyway, I've been a little disconnected for the past week or so. But yeah, YouTube. That's where I do all my stuff, and I do some communication through Twitter. But check out my channel where I review movies and such. Really, just movies, not such, just movies. And I do series that nobody's really so interested in right off the bat. Like I reviewed every single video game movie ever made. That took 2 years. So check out that if you're into video game movies. I have them all, and right now I'm doing. Among other movies, I also do comic book movies where I'm starting with Batman 66 and working all the way up to current day, which that's at the moment 260 movies.
Wow. And they're so good. He does such a great job.
Oh, well, thank you.
And I highly recommend the Friday the 13th, especially Jason Takes Manhattan, which is one of your best videos, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
it
I'm doing that right now. I'm reviewing all those.
Yeah. Definitely check those out. Triv, as always, thank you for coming on the host, as you always do.
Hope so. I mean, I appreciate you saying that, but I wouldn't be elsewhere. It'd be weird to have this Twilight Zone background.
You being part of the podcast, as I always say, is the only reason I'm doing it, because I would not do this by myself. So anyways,
would you say that you'd be lonely without me?
Lonely.
She said the thing. She
my
said the
robot.
I did say the thing.
I could say that doing a podcast, because it's on hiatus right now, but I have a podcast as well, by the way, everybody. I forgot.
And it's
doing a
awesome.
terrible job plugging myself, but doing one by yourself kind of sucks.
But he is still awesome, and it's worth a watch.
Well, thank you. But yeah,
exactly.
It's always better to have other people, a co-host or co-hosts, or just other people to bounce things off of.
Well, you've dealt with my avatar ass a couple times, so hey, appreciate it.
Yeah. You've both been on there at some point.
Yeah.
I have. Yep. But anyways, where can they find your content?
You can find me on YouTube at Trivial Theater. Starting spooky month, so I'm probably not going to get out as much stuff as I'd like, but kind of hitting a couple of different decades with the stuff that I'm doing. I also have some really awesome collabs coming up. By the time this goes live, I will have released my collab with Jacob, and it's freaking awesome because it's on Freaked, which is a batshit movie, but it's so awesome. You have to check it out.
It's amazing.
if you want to know about 5-finger penis or finger dicks, then you totally have to check that out.
Oh yeah, lots of dick hands.
Yes, dick hands.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good name.
And
Dick Hands.
Dick hands the movie.
And with that said, great content as I always say, but there's also actually, Triv, I meant to ask you this. I was going to say something at the beginning, but we got into some really interesting content. You posted a video about 2 days ago for a friend who apparently is having some trouble right now with some health issues. Can you go into some detail about that?
Yeah, so a friend of mine, actually the artist that did my avatar, and she's a big Misty and just an overall amazing artist and person. And she's in the middle of some really gnarly medical stuff, and she's got a GoFundMe as well as an online store where she sells really cool merch on t-shirts and stickers and all kinds of fun stuff. And right now they're actually doing a sale on the website, so you can get more for your money. And she's adding new designs like quite frequently. So go check it out. I'm guessing links will be in the description.
Yes, I will get those from you and then definitely put them down there.
Awesome. If you can't, 100% understood, only donate or buy if you can, because obviously everyone is kind of strapped right now. So, but even just passing it on to other people and sharing it would be great. So thanks so much in advance.
Awesome. So yeah, definitely if you have any semblance of just donating a couple dollars or something like that, definitely do it. It's definitely, people are definitely sometimes put in situations where they have need for help, and this is definitely a worthy cause. So absolutely. I'm actually planning on buying a t-shirt here soon. So
I was gonna say the merch, like I bought awesome. 2 t-shirts, and the designs are just fun and they're perfect for Halloween and any time of year really. But they're awesome and highly suggest them. And you can choose any kind of shirt you want. The sizes are pretty extreme, they go both large and small sizes of all kinds, and yeah, I totally suggest it.
I haven't seen the video yet, Triv. Is it for the mutual?
It's
Seattle?
no one. No, this is
okay.
Somebody different. So she's in Nashville actually. So
in Nashville?
Yeah, her name is Jamie Hitchcock.
I just moved from Nashville.
Nice.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm not.
I mean, obviously Nashville is a big place, but she did trading cards for Mystery Science Theater back when they rebooted the series. She does a lot of cool stuff like that. She's just, her artwork is really fun, and I mean, you can see by my avatar, like it's really good quality stuff. So
I still don't know what you look like.
Well, I look like this. The only thing not real in this shot is the coffee cup.
He likes the double mics, people.
I do like the double mics. Okay.
Nothing.
So yeah, we'll talk about that. So anyways, definitely check out that stuff. Like I said, description below and all that good stuff. As always, Movie Emporium. That's where I'm at. If you want to leave a comment, leave a nice comment. If you don't, go talk about something. I'm just kidding. Anyways, Movie Emporium. I have also merch from Spring Tea or whatever it's called. So go there, and that'll do it. That'll be this episode, which is season 1, episode 7, The Lonely. And we'll see you in the future in the Twilight Zone. Peace out, everyone.
We'll see you.
Bye.
What?
No, I thought
your
Jacob
head. What the hell did I say?
No. I was shaking my head like I agree with you.
What?
I was like, it's just crazy.
I was just like, why is it so quiet? Do you not agree with me?
It's dead air. The channel's ruined. Dead air.
I agree.
Fuck, man.
Agreed.